What made you start making FNaFb fan games?
I had conveniently already been working with RPG Maker when suddenly FNaFb showed up in my life during late 2014. After watching Wade play it, I found the subreddit, and it all spiraled from there.
Out of all the ones you made, what's your favorite?
It's really hard to say. I would probably have to say the FNaFb game remake that I haven't finished yet. One day it will be finished, I swear.
Is there any one of them you would like to revisit via a continuation? Or a remake?
For remakes, Krick Edition 4 and Chaotic Catastrophe come to mind. I like both a lot, but can't overlook some major flaws in how I designed them. Continuations aren't usually something I think too hard about. They happen when they do.
Will we see more of Dark Egg?
Yeah, probably.
Do you have a favorite FNaFb fan game?
World of Freaking Goo. No matter how unpolished or awkward the games may be to some people, I can always see and appreciate how much fun the developer has making them. They are the absolute perfect example of making what you want because you want to.
What's your favorite game out of the trilogy?
FNaFb 3. It's both the most game-like entry, and the least game-like entry. It offers a lot of fun fights and mechanics while also giving birth to the past puppet.
Do you have any sources of inspiration for your fan games' overall works?
Weirdly enough, I don't have any conscious inspirations outside of what strange ideas I can conjure up for games at complete random. I'm sure there's something in there I'm not fully aware of guiding my hand, but as far as I can tell, there's nothing there.
Is there any advice you would give to a newbie dev?
Question the purpose of game mechanics. Don't blindly copy from other games without thinking about what the features you're adding offer. While some things have a reason to be, there exists a habit of thinking that because other games do it, it's a good thing. Think before you create.
What was your favorite character to write?
Pop goes. The constant question of if he's really this dumb, or if it's on purpose will linger in the air forever, as not even I know the answer.
What was your favorite character to make from a gameplay standpoint?
Probably Redman from the FNaFb game remake. He needs to use his turns charging up heat in order to use his more powerful, faster healing skills.
Will we ever possibly get a timeline chart?
Maybe in like 40 years.
What gave you the idea of using Dark Egg as an antagonist?
I added them to the unreleased Krick Edition 6 to represent the vague, yet severe troubles that people go through and feel they can't share with others. They were inspired by real circumstances a friend was going through. I used the Dark Egg in KE6 to show my friend that there is always hope. It went over really well.
Can you explain your game dev process of a game, in general terms, from start to finish?
First I make a document with an outline for certain things. The game's title, the general plot idea, the party characters, and a list of ideas I have for the game. Then I usually start making environments and graphics. I usually add skills as I play to figure out what would be best after giving myself a taste of how the existing skills function. The plot outline doesn't have to remain how the plot happens. Eventually I finish making the game's story, and work on adding extra content. Then a grand cosmic entity flips a coin. If heads, I finish the game and release it. If tails, I sit on it like a dragon hoarding its gold and obsess over needing to polish it forever.
How do you decide what music to use for certain fights, moments, etc.?
I wish I knew. Kinsider is a good place to find game soundtracks, though.
What was the thing to make you start using an elemental system in your fan games?
For Chaotic Catastrophe it was just a random decision I made out of nowhere. For Plastic Paragon, it was utilizing the already existing power colors from the Pop Goes games.
What was the inspiration behind the mini-map system seen in Krick Edition 6?
I'm going to assume you mean Pizzeria Infiltrator. KE6 is an entirely different, unreleased game. I wanted random encounters without the random part. The game was intended to be large in physical scale, while a lot of areas to explore, and so I needed a way to have enemies be a threat without it genuinely being random if you encountered them.
What made you go with the split routes for PGPP?
It was part of the initial design document's plot outline. In the actual Pop Goes game, Pop Goes builds Black Rabbit by constructing parts at 3D printers, and you have to stop him. Obviously now you're playing as Pop Goes himself, so there exists the question of why Pop Goes is building Black Rabbit. You, as Pop Goes, have a choice to make.
What gave you the idea for the arcade in Krick Edition 4?
I don't really have an answer. It just happened. I don't remember a lot of my thought processes. I can at least tell you that rock paper scissors was chosen because of how juvenile it was when juxtaposed against the prospect of hardcore gambling.
How did you come up with the red man point system in HBH2?
It was partially inspired by the fossil power system from Fossil Fighters. In that game, you gain fossil power every turn up to a certain limit. Using skills cost fossil power, and you gain a ton of it whenever someone on your side is knocked out. Obviously that last part wasn't carried over, but some other obvious parallels do exist.
What made you start doing the player and enemy split for poison?
Simply put, there is no other way to really balance poison. Either it deals almost no damage to the player or normal enemies, but works fine against bosses, or it reasonably harms the player and enemies, but utterly butchers bosses.
Who, or what is, null?
Null are the remaining fragments of prior game overs. They don't realize what or where they are, and so they wander your current game aimlessly as silhouettes of what they once were. As shown in Chaotic Catastrophe, they also have the capacity to combine and congeal into entirely new entities if they lose enough of their identity. Usually, they only exist as shadows in the corner of your vision,